Hi there, welcome back to the Alban allotment. It is absolutely stunning weather this week. It's about 29 degrees, absolutely glorious. The plants are loving it, I'm loving it, despite how sweaty I am. I absolutely love this weather so much. So I've taken the opportunity to pop down to the plot and do a slightly overdue plot tour of plot 12 to show you some of the things that have changed. There's one very exciting thing that I can't wait to show you, which I have been talking about in every plot tour basically since the start, and we finally got it done, but I'll show you that in a second. But yeah, everything is looking nice and lush and green, even the weeds, and I'm just really excited to show you the plot today. So let's move over to the start of plot 12 and I'll show you around. So here we are at the start of plot 12, mid-June. So we've got our onions uncovered now. Unfortunately, we have had a bit of an issue with allium leaf miner, so we've gone through and taken out some of the worst affected ones, but I think quite a few of them are affected. It's a bit annoying because they were covered for pretty much their entire lives, but somehow the leaf miner still got in there and has been doing a bit of damage. That aside though, there are some decent sized onions in there, and some of them do look okay, like this one for example. This one looks alright and it looks pretty big, so maybe we'll get a few onions, but nothing compared to the amount that we put in the ground. And then in front of that was where we had some of our tulips and stuff, and I think some gladioli now just coming up, and I've just plonked in some calendula and snapdragons that were needing to go out a lot earlier than they did, which is why they're already in flower and quite small. And then next to that, on this side, we have our garlic. So I've actually just uncovered this because I think it is time to harvest it. You can see they're looking a little bit ropey. There is quite a lot of rust now as well. And I've harvested a couple just to check for leaf miner, and they're a really good size. So I think it's probably time to at least start harvesting the ones that we did earlier on in the year, last year, which was up to about here-ish. And then this side was done, I think, in December. Certainly this last row was done in December. But even these, actually, these are looking pretty big. So this one down here, for example, looking really good. So yeah, going to harvest all these soon and dry them, and then obviously give some away because this is a lot of garlic for 2 people to eat. But nice that we actually have some for a change. There are some elephant garlics in here somewhere, but unfortunately they don't really seem to have done very much. So I thought there was 4 as well, but there's this one, and this one. These are all elephant garlic, but they don't really seem to have done very much. I have dug around this one to see if I can see a bulb, but there's not really much there. There's no rust that I can see yet, so I might leave them a little bit longer, but they did start producing their scapes, which suggests they are nearly done. But we'll see what happens. If they don't work, we've got another year to try it next year, haven't we? So that's the garlic. Next to that, we've got some weeds. So this particular area hasn't had a lot of love. We're actually running out of things to put in the ground this year because we've been so focused on getting everything tidy. We don't really have a lot to put in the ground, but next year we definitely will, because we want to do a few more cut flowers and things, and also our dahlia collection is definitely going to grow. Next to that, we have our outdoor tomatoes on plot 12. So Sergio put these in recently and they have just started to green up nicely. They did look a little bit ropey, not as ropey as these leftover ones in this bucket, but they looked a little bit ropey, but they are now starting to green up quite nicely. So hopefully they will take off, considering how hot the weather is this week. They should be quite happy now. Next to that we have, I think, a Uchiki curry. The idea was to trail this along the side there, but we haven't really left ourselves enough room. We do have this gap here, which may do the job. If we don't though, I have to figure out what to put in here. We could put leeks in here, maybe some sunflowers. We haven't really decided yet. Up the arch now we have a couple of borlotti beans and my shadow, hello. So we have some borlotti beans here. We have a lot of borlotti beans actually dotted about both plots, just to try and use them up. And these will grow up the arch and up that string in the middle there. They only went in fairly recently, so they haven't had a lot of growth yet, but they are still quite happy. And then in this bed, it is now full in terms of sowings, but not a lot has come up. So we've got 2 rows of leeks here. Front and back half here is 2 different types of parsnips, and next to that we have some carrots and then some fennel. So the fennel has definitely started to come up. So this here is a fennel. It's quite hard to see because we've got a few weeds that we need to take out, but I can't see much in the way of carrots. Potentially this is a carrot, and I can't see any parsnips yet, which is a bit frustrating. Maybe this will be a parsnip even, we'll see. And some of the leeks have come up, but they're so small it's really hard to see them at the moment. Next to that we have some radishes, and although looking a bit ropey in terms of their spotty leaves, we do have some radish under there which actually are a bit overdue being harvested, so should probably get on that soon. Some bolt hardy beetroot, looking very healthy indeed. Whatever is attacking these leaves just doesn't seem to be having the same effect on either the beetroot, the spinach, the two types of spinach, or the chard. The little extra spinach at the back there is definitely bolted now, but the spinach and the chard and the beetroot are all looking pretty happy. Should probably harvest some of this soon. The germination rate on the Lazio was very, very patchy in comparison to the other one, which I've forgotten the name of, Amelia. Maybe just bad sowing or maybe just bad watering, who knows. But the good thing is we have some spinach. And then next to that we have a butternut squash, which is growing in the wrong direction as well. We wanted that to grow down the side here, but it seems to prefer to grow this way. We can probably start to trail it around though, eventually, start teasing it around the right way. Oh yeah, down the side of the greenhouse we have a few bits and bobs. So these are some of the brassicas, the backup brassicas that I sowed last month. They're looking pretty healthy. I've taken some of them out already to take them home, in the hope that we can grow some of the green sprout and broccoli and stuff that bolts very easily in a bit more shade, to see if they work in pots, because the kalettes that we have at home are looking pretty good. The aubergines, these are just spare aubergines, but I'm hoping that we can put them in the ground somewhere before they go over, but not too bothered, we do have a lot. Oh yeah, actually an issue that you might not be able to see, these ones don't seem so affected, but in both greenhouses on both plots, the aubergines have got spider mite, which is a bit annoying, and Sergio's dad seems to think that that is going to be the end of our aubergines that now stop growing, but we'll see. And then down here we just have some chilies, which didn't really do much, although they have now started to take off, but these were sown in January, can you believe? But they are, yeah, I'm not really, we haven't got a compost bin on this plot yet, so it's just a case of remembering to take them round to plot 79. And some of the little teeny tiny baby grape seedlings that I recently separated and potted on. Down the side here we have some of the strawberries. We've actually got round to potting up some of the runners. The squirrels and the pigeons and everything have been eating all of the strawberries, but I don't really mind. The main thing is, oh, there's a little tomato in there. Oh, look, another one. The main thing is that we actually have some plants going on both plots now, so we don't have to worry too much about flooding, which is quite nice. Some raspberries. We still haven't levelled the water butts yet. Very low on the list of things to do, especially since we have a mains water butt there. But we will get around to it at some point towards the end of the year, hopefully. And then in here, these are Sergio's tomatoes and a few cucumbers and melons. So these are all, well, we've actually got aubergines in the corners. I might be able to show you, no, I think so I sprayed these with soapy water and dilute oil. And actually, well, at the very least, all of the webbing seems to have gone off the leaves, and the plants maybe have perked up a little bit, but that also might be due to the heat that we've had. But maybe soap, oil and water is enough to get rid of spider mites. Fingers crossed that actually solves it, because I still need to treat the ones on plot 79 as well. But all the actual other tomatoes in here, they are all San Marzano. They are all looking pretty healthy, and we have some flowers now forming on them as well, even more around here, which is nice. We've unfortunately had to switch to using nylon string because the jute type of string that we've had just keeps rotting at the bottom and keeps breaking. Even though we buried it underneath the plant, it just keeps rotting away and breaking, so the tomatoes keep flopping about. So we've changed them to nylon string now, but hopefully maybe we can reuse the string every year, who knows, that would be nice. But yeah, they're all looking pretty good, pretty healthy. The campsis is maybe, yeah, just starting to form buds now. Hopefully we'll get some flowers on that soon. Doesn't even really need to be in here anymore. I know that Sergio has a tromboncino plant that needs to go out, so it's probably going to go here because it's the highest point for it to climb up and hang down. And then we got, I think that's a melon, a cucumber, a melon and a cucumber, but I couldn't remember which types. But they're also looking pretty happy as well, very healthy. Then next to that, they've actually finally started to do something. We must have had some very cold nights because these have done nothing for a very long time. But these are Sergio's basket of fire chilies, and some of them are still very tiny, but they are now starting to pick up as well. Some more tomatoes down the side here, but then at the back we have some of my backup or experimental sowings of aubergines and Kane chilies, which have done absolutely nothing. These have been this size for a very long time, same as Sergio's really, and all I can think is that it's just been too cold in here. So it kind of validates that I have kind of done things right by starting my chilies so early in the year, because otherwise, if this was the size they'd be right now, I'd be very upset. And then underneath that we have the rest of the grape seedlings, which are all looking very, very happy. So these, I'm surprised we've got anywhere near this amount germinate, but I'm very happy. Even if they never produce fruit or take years and years to produce fruit, I'm not that bothered because they will act as fences down the side of our plots. I'm going to leave the greenhouse now because it's 1,000,000 degrees and I'm sweating. Down here, I think these might be cauliflowers or cabbages, can't remember. Sergio will have to remind me at some point. Some chrysanthemums, some more storage inside there. And we also have some more strawberries with a sunflower. So ironically, having a lot of trouble getting sunflowers to germinate this year from our saved seed. So the ones in the middle are doing okay. These were all from last year's saved seed. Not a single one has come up. And then the year before were these ones. So we have two types of sunflowers that grow kind of natively on our plots. One is a really, really giant one and one is a very tall one. The tall one is the one I care the least about, but that's the one that's germinating the best. The giant one is really struggling to germinate this year. I've got a few more that I'm germinating in paper at home, and they are starting to come up and starting to pot those on. So we will get some, it's just been a bit tricky. Sod's law that last year I decided not to save too many because I didn't see the point, and now I'm struggling to get them to germinate. So this year I'm going to save so many. And then under that we have a couple of white cucumbers. They finally germinated, but only two have, which is a bit annoying. Again, the nights have just been so cold recently up until this week that things just haven't been doing anything. And then next to that we have some Cavolo Nero and some kale, some other Ethiopian kale I think, which are starting to take off as well quite nicely. Some more strawberries, and then the poppies behind the broadbeans have finally come out. Much more impressive than the ones on plot 79. Really, really love them. It's a shame they only last for a day because they're already starting to go over, but I will never purposely weed out a poppy unless it's completely in the way, because obviously our dog is called Poppy and they remind me of her every time I see them. So Sergio's broadbeans are doing very well and are desperately in need of harvesting now, I think. And then once we get those out, we can do a little bit of weeding and then decide what to put in there. We did have a plan of what to put in, but I forgot. We've got quite a lot of dwarf borlotti beans to put out because we have mostly been focusing on climbing ones so far. So maybe some of this space will be filled up with just some dwarf borlotti beans. Some lettuces which are definitely past their best. We've given a few of these away. These ones on the right are looking a lot better. Couldn't tell you what they are. The ones down there are just looking ropey as hell. And then next to that, between all the weeds, there are some peas, believe it or not. And actually the weeds are providing some shelter from the pigeons. I don't think the pigeons know they're there quite so much. Oh, that's feeling very limp. They might need a water soon. But the plan was to use those for pea shoots, but because we haven't really been coming down at lunchtime too much, it's been a bit we're a bit behind on eating the stuff at the plot that we sowed for eating while we're here at lunches. So some of the stuff is kind of getting a little bit unruly, but soon we will be tidying the shed and we will be back down here for lunches. My broad beans, which are I'm now assuming a very different variety to what Sergio's ones are also doing very well. Much shorter. But again, we have some smaller broad beans ready to pick, so which is really nice. And then, oh yeah, I'll go this way. So this bed is basically empty. This is kind of the last full remaining bed for us to sort out, but we already have the bits ready to build basically an identical brassica cage for here, and this was where our cabbages are going to go, so hopefully we'll be able to get on that soon. Obviously lots of weeds we'll need to, we'll need to sort this out pretty soon. We've pretty much finished all of the soaring that we'll need to do on this plot, so we won't need the space for soaring so much wood hopefully soon. Lots and lots and lots of rubbish at the back. We haven't really done much. Once you get past the shed, it starts to get a bit unruly. Obviously haven't got round to felting or fixing the small tool shed roof just yet. And then as we get to one side of Fruit Tree Avenue, we've got some more borlotti beans there, some poppies which are now taking off, gladioli, some peonies, and then we have some very dinky tiny little cherries on the tree. They're very cute. Hopefully they get a bit bigger than that normally though. And then either side of each of the trees, to try and fill out the space a bit, we have put in some of the dahlias from plot 79. So I couldn't tell you what they are. I'm really bad at labelling stuff if you haven't noticed, but part of the surprise of seeing stuff flower, if you don't label it, I love it. So we've got some more peonies, and this peony here is finally flowering. It's only just come out in the past day or two, and it is very, very nice indeed. Let me see if I can get it out of the shadow there. There we go. Really nice. But it's the only one. I don't think, oh, there's a little bee in there. I don't think we are going to get any other flowers this year, which is fine. Next year we should get a nice big display, hopefully. That nasturtium there is completely going for it. It's a really nice colour as well. This one was a self-seeded nasturtium that we've just left in. But as you can see, like the rest of it, although the weeds are actually not too bad, it's still quite bare. So hopefully next year we'll be able to fill the space up a little bit better with either nasturtiums or poppies or something like that. We're not really sure yet, but we'll figure it out. And also the alliums, they look a little bit sad individually on their own. Alliums look a lot better when there's like a big sea of purple balls down the bed, so maybe we'll get some more of those too. These sweet peas are finally starting to do something, which is quite nice. They've been in the ground for quite a long time. I just think the nights have been too cold, but things are taking off. Some more borlotti beans over this nice arch. Oh, it's not a very straight arch anymore, but it was just plonked in the ground really, just to try and put the broad beans somewhere. Not the broad beans, the borlotti beans somewhere. And then mirrored on the other side again, we've got dahlias, peonies, nasturtiums, which are now finally starting to pick up a bit. Some more peonies, some more dahlias, and also the fruits that we've left on the apple trees are doing something as well, which is quite nice. Some more borlotti beans and some more gladioli. Oh, we'll have a couple of sunflowers here as well. Oh yes, my favourite thing to show you is that we finally have windows on the shed. They're not completely finished. They are on their hinges now, but they don't have latches on the inside. So at the minute, well, you can see how messy our shed is in there, but you can see that there's a clamp kind of holding them on just to stop the wind from blowing them out this way, because like I say, there's no latches on the inside yet, but they are on their hinges. They were quite tricky to do actually. If you look carefully, you can see they're all the screws are in at weird angles because we did the windows last. We'd obviously put all of this felt on and the roof and everything, and it's really hard to get screwdrivers and drills and stuff into there. But we managed it eventually, and really happy to say that we now have some windows. We just need to finish the latches now. But to do the latches, I need to take the workbench that's in here out, because I need to get underneath it to screw some of the bits in. But that means that it's a good opportunity for us to take everything out, sort through it all, tidy it, and put it all back in while having windows done at the same time. And on the left here we have some, these are our cabbages, as well as some stocks or something behind there that Sergio's been doing. But they're just in here to keep the cabbage whites off them now. But then you have the problem with the aphids when they're in here, so we'll just have to see how they do. Hopefully they'll be okay. Next to that we have the sprouts. They are picking up a little bit. They're looking a bit better than they did in the last tour. I think maybe the aphids are starting to give up, but I've sprayed them a few times, and you can see that's why the leaves are looking a little bit gnarly, but they do have the rest of this year to catch up, so hopefully they will be okay, and hopefully the ladybirds can start eating some of the aphids. There's also some black little beetle things, which I think is what's making the leaves spotty on some of the like the radishes and stuff. But overall they are looking okay. Hopefully we get some sprouts this year. Next to that, I've already taken out, there was a couple of rows of kale and green sprouting broccoli, they bolted very, very quickly, even with the shade netting on. So just took those out rather than wasting time watering them or letting them suck up nutrients that the other plants can be using. Next to that we have some wilted cauliflowers which desperately needed water. Maybe I'll give those a bit of a tinkle after this tour. And then next to that we have some calabrese broccoli which are looking okay. They haven't technically bolted yet. I think I can see a broccoli head at the back there, which we'll have a look when we go around. But again, could be a little bit healthier. I think next year, I'm hoping, because we already have these cages ready, we can get stuff in the ground a bit earlier and they will be less likely to bolt, and hopefully we'll get a bit of a better result. And maybe the plants will be a little bit more established by the time the aphids take hold of the sprouts and stuff as well. But it's not the end of the world yet. Yeah, there is a teeny tiny little broccoli forming in there. I don't know if you can see that, which is tiny, but something at least. It's more like a sprouting broccoli than a calabrese broccoli. And then more bindweed, lots and lots of bindweed. Although the bindweed is starting to finally give up on the Uchiki curry that we direct sowed at the corner here. But again, these have really not done very much. They're very small, considering they came up maybe a month ago. But they are starting to pick up and annoyingly starting to form flowers. But hopefully soon these will start to trail and we'll get some squash. Back here is awful. The bindweed has fully taken over the back here. I think pretty much this is a lost battle now until the end of the year. Like I say, past the shed it kind of gets a bit wild, but it's just so much stuff there that we need to go through and either get rid of or tidy up, especially loads and loads of spare glass which we don't really know what to do with yet, in terms of where to store it. But yeah, at the moment that's too difficult for us to deal with. There's plenty of other things that we can be doing. We just have to accept defeat when we see it. And then on the table we have, I think these are touch-me-nots. I can't remember the actual name for them, but we had some last year I think, and they got really, really big, and we put them in the ground quite late and they still got really big and gave us a really nice display. The oregano and the thyme done absolutely nothing. Some leeks that need to go in the ground, some more chrysanthemums and some more chrysanthemums, and also a few extra sweet peas which I didn't realise we had. I can kind of show you around the back. It's not a great way to end the tour. One day this back bit will look all lovely because we'll have a nice little seating area by the river hopefully, and not so much rubbish and not so much weeds. Although talking about weeds, I was looking back, it's been about a year since we took over plot 12, and looking back at videos, oh my gosh, the weeds, like even back here. So the original sheds were over here, so this is where one was, and there was another two next to it, and there was a greenhouse in front of it here, and just everywhere around it was just completely overgrown. It was all grass, and there was an oak tree, raspberries, there was just like gooseberry bushes and stuff. And like looking at the weeds now, we've managed to keep Fruit Tree Avenue pretty weed free. Even this bit which we've dug is just not that bad in comparison. So I think we need to give ourselves a bit of a break and realise that, you know, there is some weeds at the back, but compared to last year, this plot is in a much better state, and we are definitely on top of the weeds in a much better way than we were last year. There we go, plot 12, mid-June. Definitely starting to feel like it's finally taking off, but it has felt a bit slow over the last couple of months. But some really cool stuff. The garlic is amazing. We finally got the windows sort of done on the shed. Things are really starting to take shape on this plot now. And I don't want to wish the year away, but I think next year is going to be a fantastic year on plot 12 because of some of the stuff that we have been putting into place this year. But that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed walking around plot 12 with me, and I'd really be keen to hear how you're getting on with your plot. Are things starting to finally take off? Is the weather okay where you are actually? Because I know that it's still been quite cold in places like Wales and stuff, but hopefully now we're through it all and we are just all going to completely take off with the current season. That's it for today's video. So from me, Sergio and Poppy, take the very best of care, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.